Washington apples, but bigger.
So, growers? You're a grower?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a farmer.
Same time, it's close to the same neighborhood too.
I love growers. My favorite. So, questions? Who's going to start?
Tell us what you're doing here today.
What I'm doing.
Why'd you come to Washington State? Why is that an interesting market for you as opposed to...
State run.
That's me, hi. As opposed to Colorado, as opposed to California. What's interesting about Washington? We're here in Seattle, we're in the cannabis. Tell us why we're here.
Washington's got a interesting history. It's so close to BC Bud. You know, and the BC Bud was coming into Washington and then going on to California and everywhere else. But Washington, apparently, according to my grower friend here, is one of the greatest places in America to grow weed. The conditions are perfect.
Absolutely.
And how many acres do you have?
Well, we have 670 acres that we draw from, but our grow area is 2.5 because our limit by the state.
That's a little bigger than a closet. Definitely, and for that size of a grow, and he showed me pictures of his plants, and they're phenomenal. And so Washington weed is really primo right now in the country. Although when I'm in Colorado, I'm saying the same thing about Colorado. And California is the same thing. Because it's a magical plant that is actually going to save the world. It's going to take over the world, it's going to save the world. And I'm just very happy to be, I guess, like the spokesman for it, because I've got the street cred,
Right.
I've been to jail, I've did the movies, I've done the records, and I've done everything. And everything has always been pot related. And I learned very early in life that is one thing that connected me to everybody, either positively or sometimes negatively, which really got me in jail. But the reason I'm really here, or one of the reasons I'm here, is to find out ways to monetize the industry, other than being the guy that knows the guy that you can buy it from. And we're coming into this is a brand new industry. And so it's exciting to know or to be part of something like this here. It's like being present at the birth of a baby, except this baby's wiser and smarter and stronger and more complete than any other business that I can even think of right now, other than, say, the computer business. And I think the computer business itself, especially the cell phone, I think the cell phone had a great deal to do with the legalization of pot where we are now, because it was the cell phone that debunked all these myths that were floating around. What about the kids, reefer madness, and all this stuff? If the pot today isn't as strong as, it's a lot stronger than it was in your grandfather's. All that bullshit, all the lies, the computer or the cell phone has debunked it. All you have to do is get on your cell phone, and if you don't know how to work it, give it to your 9-year-old grandson that I and he'll show you how to Google pot, and it'll tell you how many medical uses, just the medical. And we won't even talk about fabric or how it could save the trees. Or like I was reading the paper and I'm watching landslides in Washington here. Now, what they should do is plant that hillside with hemp. you know. And not only that hillside, but let's look around at other places that are going to collapse. You know, where the logging industry is denuded the forest, and plant hemp there. And the hemp, within a few months, you got a safe environment. And I'm just a pothead comedian, and I figured that one out. And so I don't know why the forestry people here couldn't figure that out. I don't know why the lands, people that take care of the land, even the environmentalists or the first responders, I don't know how they missed that. Because this technology's been around here forever. And the Bible itself states, the Bible, first of all, the Bible was written on him. And I did some research on the Bible itself, and I found out that first of all, it wasn't written by the people that say it was written by. They never wrote one word. Everybody that's quoted in the Bible. So it happened hundreds of years later, and there were so many additions and so on. But the one thing that they all agreed on was that in Genesis, where God gave us herb, and it shall be for meat. And it says it 6-7 times in just the first chapter of Genesis. And so this plan has been here waiting for us to discover it. And so we're the ones that are evolving. The plant has evolved.
Right.
We're the ones that are now, we're mentally and physically realizing the joy and the use of this plant. And like I said downstairs at dinner, the biggest problem that we're going to have now is that we're going to have a generation or a couple of generations of healthy people that are going to live longer than the expected life. And so we're going to have to think of things to do for us older people that are going to be like me. Like I'm 76 and I just got off a dancing show where I danced with teenagers. And I owe it all to marijuana. I owe it all to my partaking of the magic herb as a medicine. And like I said before about the cancer, we've had the Chinese knew 5,000 years ago. The Chinese knew that, okay, you got cancer, marijuana. Gone. Cancer was gone. Chinese never had a problem with cancer until recently, till they adapted all the Western style of living. As soon as they got McDonald's in China, the cancer rate rose like crazy. Before that, and now the healthy people here in America, we're going back to the way the Chinese used to eat back in the day when they were healthy. So it's gone. We traded cultures almost. And so the health aspect of the plan itself is paramount. And when I heard that they were thinking of getting rid of the medical side and just going with recreation, I thought, who are these dumb fucks? I mean, how fucking stupid is that approach? And that's so we can get more taxes. Money. They're talking about money. Man, it's so crazy. Here's the plant that helps cancer, it helps MS, it helps Alzheimer's, it helps post-traumatic stress, it helps PMS, it helps everything. There's not a disease, I can't think of a disease where it doesn't help somehow. And then it helps the healthy people. It's so crazy. Because one of the knocks against marijuana is it makes you forget things. Well, that's exactly what we're supposed to do. We're not supposed to hang on to stupid memories that make you feel bad. We're supposed to forget that shit. Move on. So that's the health benefit that people don't realize, you know. And every knock they had against pot. I remember when I was in Vancouver, Canada, I had a nightclub, and it was a bottle club. We never had a liquor license, so the patrons would bring their bottles in and sit there and get drunk and listen to the music or dance, and then the cops would come in because it was a bottle club, and they would come in with cartons, empty cartons, and they would take the bottles from under the table, and they would. There'd be 5 or 6 cops in there, and they're just taking the bottle. They wouldn't arrest anybody, but it's a bottle club. It's illegal to have booze in here, so they'd take the bottles. Well, then, around the 60s, the pot came into the club, and the bottles, all of a sudden, the bottles just weren't being brought into the club anymore. And all the patrons of the club, they were smiling and laughing, and they were dancing, and they're high, and they're having a good time. And the cops would come in with their cardboard boxes, and there'd be nothing to pick up. And then while they're down there looking, the high customers would goose them in the butt. Cops would look around, and some stoner laughing. And I saw the change, and it changed. And I see society changing now, and it's all for the good. Like I say, we're getting healthier, and when you get healthy, then the brain clears up. See, the brain. That's what pot is. Pot is medicine for the brain. And people, you know, when I said pot's going to save the world, they said, how? I see. Smart people are going to get high.
Yeah.
And smart people are going to figure out shit. You see, I got high. I figured out things. Like I figured out the gun control issue. I got high and I figured out, perfect. I got a solution. What is the solution? Insurance. Insure every gun owner. You can have any gun you want. You just have to pay insurance. So that if that gun harms anybody, whoever it harms, the insurance company will reimburse. Now the insurance company are going to be responsible for who they insure. And so the insurance companies are going to do the background checks, they're going to do the mental checks, they're going to do everything they can do, because they're not going to give a weapon to some nutcase that's going to go out and kill somebody, because they're going to have to pay for it. And so they're also going to be very careful that that gun doesn't get into the wrong hands, because if they're, say, in a bad neighborhood or they're not mentally thing, their insurance rates will go up so high that they can't afford that shit. You see? And so right now, the trouble with the gun industry is that anybody can get a gun. And that means anybody can kill. And a gun kills. That's the only thing a gun is good for, is killing. And the Second Amendment says that everybody has a right. Well, I agree. Everybody has a right, because you don't want to stop anybody's rights. But everybody has a right to drive a car, but everybody has to have insurance. And so anybody that has a weapon, if you have a tank, you want to, or anti-aircraft gun, you can have it, but you just got to have insurance, just in case that gun hurts somebody. And that's the solution. And we have insurance companies that are ready to, that if someone would say, hey, this is what we need to do, or the government, and instead of Obamacare, Obama, or as well as Obamacare, the government can say, okay, mandate. Any weapon, anybody that has a weapon has to have insurance. Just mandate it. Boom. Problem solved. And sure, you're going to still have mass killings, but at least you're going to have money to pay for the damages done. Like the kids in Sandy Hook, for instance, the parents in that, they lost their children and they lost money. They lost fortunes, you know, because they couldn't do both. They couldn't make a living and deal with the tragedies that occurred. So that was a double tragedy. And then people had to go. The other people that were hurt, you know, in the Aurora incident, that they had to have outside charities get together to help them with money. But my insurance plan, and that's from pot. I smoked a joint and I said, wow, that makes sense. And there's more problems that, you know, in our society that we can solve. We just have, the right people have to get stoned, and we have to listen to them. The pipeline, another flash in mind, another pot flash in mind. The pipeline, everybody wants a pipeline, Keystone Pipeline, oil, blah, blah. Yeah, build a pipeline, but build a water pipeline. So, yeah, build the fucking pipeline. But put in the pipeline what we need, water. There's a whole state of California that's suffering drought. And they're selling water at a premium to farmers. I mean, crazy premium. So it's worth more than oil. So build the pipeline. Build it from the flood areas that are always getting flooded out, you know, and then channel that water into a holding area, and then have that holding area channel it into where it's needed, down in the desert areas, or the drought areas. And then it can be shut off and turned on, whatever we want. And if it leaks, it's water. It's not going to hurt anything. It's not going to kill birds, it's going to make them live. So yeah, there's a lot of things. They're reinventing they're reconstructing the Los Angeles River. And a friend of mine, Frank Gehry, an architect, he's in charge of it. And so I had a talk with Frank. And I said, Frank, I got a great idea, man, for your water thing. And he said, what is it? Well, we have to get together. I haven't even told him the idea. But what we have to do, what I want him to do is create floodplains, swamps, basically. But I want them to be, you know, plants that we need, you know, because we need plants, and hemp would be perfect. Hemp floodplain would be so perfect, just a whole area of hemp growing there. Because you know what hemp does? Hemp attracts birds because of the seeds. And birds attract so many other things, and animals, and so we get the wildlife back in there, and we get our ecology system working again. So there's so many things, and that's just me. That's just me, an old comedian, dancer that gets high and thinks of things. And there's a lot of people out there like me, and we just got to listen to it, and we got to get away from this fear and this hatred of each other. Because the other thing about pot, what's the thing you do with pot?
Fellowship.
You take a joint, you take a toke, and you pass it. You give it to somebody. You know, because, I mean, I've known people that would smoke a joint and just hold it, you know, and it pisses you off because what are you holding it for, man? You're wasting all that good smoke. The great thing about our culture is that we share. And we share, and we don't care who we're sharing it with. That was one thing that I've gotten stoned with some of the greatest people on this planet. And like George Harrison, the Beatles. He's the only Beatle that I actually smoked a joint with. I've smoked in front of Ringo, I smoked in front of John Lennon, but George was the only one that took that joint out of my hands and this up like, yeah. So my whole thing is that the reason I'm here is one of celebration. It's to celebrate that Washington is growing up. Washington is evolving into this beautiful country that's going to help be the forefront of a lot of great things in America. And you guys, and the land in Washington with the ocean and the islands is as beautiful as anywhere on this planet. And if you guys, you know, do what I suggest you do, you know, toke up and then go out and sit outside and look around and see that you are in paradise. Then you've made it. I mean, you've arrived. So that's about it, man.
Did you ever think that you would see marijuana legitimized in your lifetime? I mean, not more, you know, legitimized in a law type of way, like we have made it legal
You know, I was kind of like Lenny Bruce. You know, Lenny Bruce, for you young ones, was an old comedian that was like the forefront. He said things that no one else talked about. And Lenny Bruce, back in the 50s, said pot will be legal in the 60s because so many law students are smoking it. Whatever, 2015, he was off a little bit.
They're judges now.
He's off a little bit. But did I think it was be legal? Yeah, I've always known. No, I take that back. I haven't. I really didn't think about it. I was too busy being illegal.
Can you just say hello to our Seattle store owners? They're leaving. Say, come here. We're putting a store